All right, good day to everyone. Welcome back here into the SS Zone. It's JB from Solution Sports. We kicked off the MLB recording here yesterday. Um, Pretty much wanted to wait till the end of the NBA season to start up the recording here, but it was a successful upload, and we're going to continue to keep this thing going in motion. And I hope you enjoy the content as we continue to bring information and keep up with the league. We'll be looking forward to putting some more content up on the NFL. As the NFL starts, this is not going to definitely just be a podcast on daily fantasy. Or daily fantasy sports is a big core of my heritage and sports in general. I love the competitive nature of it. And of course, it has a lot of us, our eyes glued to the TV and aspirations and seeing what we collectively put together as skills and strategy come to manifestation. So it's grown big, as you know, from since it started, and there's a whole lot of other platforms besides DraftKings and FanDuel. I tend to just stick to DraftKings. I'm pretty loyal to the site. I get on FanDuel every once in a while, but pretty much just do everything on DraftKings. So when you pull up to the stream, that's the first thing you're going to see. Alright. I am here out of Atlanta. I'm a big Hawks fan, so I do support the local teams, the Hawks, the Braves, the Falcons. So I'll be covering them and all the other teams. Mainly MLB, NFL, NBA content. So just continue to chime in. If I send you links and you come here, just know you definitely with a very seasoned sports enthusiast. All right, name says it all. Solution Sports. You either gonna love us or you gonna hate us. One of the two, but we're gonna bring the fire every day, every night. So we got 3 games here to talk about in the MLB. Early bird, as you can see on the screen, you got Atlanta and Detroit. That was postponed yesterday to weather. Pretty much it looks like it's gonna, they're gonna have a double header today, of course, to make up the game. So it looks like they're gonna be able to make both those games up. You got Milwaukee and Minnesota tipping off there at 1:10. 2 games starting at 1:10, and then the third game, the Giants and St. Louis, 5 minutes later, about 1:15. So we're gonna start with the Braves in Detroit. We're gonna chop it up. Might add a few more things in there since the video from yesterday. Video yesterday was about an hour and 10 minutes long. It was a lot of games yesterday. This one will probably be a lot shorter. We're only 3 games, thank God. But we can definitely still get in depth with it, right? Pitching looks pretty decent. In Atlanta and Detroit, the first thing that stands out is Spencer Strider. Of course, I'm not looking at anything now. I mean, I watch a lot of games, right? But he's always going to be a high commodity, when he comes on the mound because of his strikeout potential. And that makes him a very valuable asset to the betting gods. And Vegas is going to pretty much put a lot of money behind him. Again, I go on the covers a lot. I like to go on covers and check things out. Currently right now, and we'll pull it up. I got it on my desktop, but we'll put covers up here real quick. And this is basically an all-around site that gives over-unders, spreads. They're pretty straightforward, right? So you find your team, and then you go over to your scores and matchups, right? So this is what I was reading off on yesterday. You want to make sure you're on the current day, Wednesday the 14th. So here again, you got the Braves minus 225 on the money line for the Braves, 73% consensus. Detroit at plus 190, big underdog, 27%. They got Michael Lorenzen on the mound, 2 right-handers on the mound, so we get in that here in a little bit. Right off the bat, if you think about Braves, you think about left-handers, you think about Matt Olson, you're thinking about Ozzie Albies, you're thinking about Eddie Rosario, Michael Harris. Braves are tough. They're not, in first place for no reason. So we're going to chop it up here. Let's get into our other situation here. So basically, we got 6 pitchers. We got Strider at 11,800. Strider's always going to be between 10 to pushing 12 grand, based on his matchup. In that matchup against the Mets, he was up there. And we just click on his name. Alright, so on his game log, for a guy that has so much strikeout potential, his ERA is 3.79. So what does that tell you? He's not perfect. Critics here in Atlanta said he needs to develop a third pitch. He's a main fastball pitcher, slider. That's his 2 bread and butter pitches. I mean, when you're pushing 100 on the clock, you can rely on those 2 pitches if you're accurate and you can locate. And that's how he's made his bread and butter. But when he's not locating, he gets into a lot of issues. So in that Mets game, look at his salary. It was $12,000. So when you roster Strider, he's going to eat up a lot of your salary. And when he's on, and he's going to be highly owned, you're going to stay with the chalk, basically, right? You're not going to lose out on an opportunity to take a slate down. If you take a risk and you fade him, you better know what you're doing. It's probably not highly recommended you do that in a single entry because you can't put in a contrarian lineup. So in lesser played field tournaments and things like that, you may want to stick with the chalk. Most likely stick with the chalk with Strider. The thing is, if he gives up 3 runs but he can get you 10 strikeouts, he's making up for his ERA that he's giving up in the game. He only got 3 points against the Mets. If you look him up historically on the Mets, they just got his number. He struggled against them, but dominant in the 3 games before that. Arizona, who's leading their division, he had admirable numbers, 23 fantasy points against Philly, who was their divisional rival. They had a great game last night, by the way, against Arizona. 29 points against them. The Dodgers, who pretty much was a very disciplined team all around, up and down the lineup, in the plate, 26. So the guy's worth it. His whip is 1.09. He's I'm not certain if he's still leading the league. I know him and Gosman was neck and neck, but 121, that's very impressive strikeouts. He's almost pretty much a lock. In a 3-game slate, it's like a turbo here on DraftKings. He's pretty much a lock against a Detroit team that's not really going anywhere. So with the Braves being idle yesterday and not playing, let's go to standings here. Mets had opportunity to gain ground, but they lost. They let the Yankees come back and beat them, surprisingly, with 2 of their so-called aces on the mound. But unfortunately, in the stream yesterday, and even if you looked at a lot of other streaming podcasts on MLB Strategy and stuff, pretty much, Scherzer was pretty much was a must play for a lot of people. A lot of the high rolls played him, and that's just when you say the bigger they are, the harder they fall, right? So that's just a risk, But the eye test you take away from that is that Scherzer's definitely he's on a curve of a descent. He's not the Scherzer that he was, a couple of years ago, but definitely not the Scherzer with Washington. He's definitely on a downward spiral. He's on the back end of his athletic ability. Not to say that he can't still dominate, but that was not a very good performance yesterday by him. Mets again, they're losers of their last 2. In the last 10 games, they're coming off of that sweep from the Braves. They're 1-9. and they got one of the highest payrolls in the majors. So not a good look for them. And you can believe Atlanta is definitely keeping a look on Miami, Philly, and the Mets behind them. Miami, ironically, only 4 games back. They're actually having a better season at this point than Philadelphia. So Atlanta, they're gonna keep pushing the agenda. They're gonna look to probably try to take care of business. I mean, against Detroit, this is a team that they should win. They're more talented. They are contenders this year for the pennant. But again, like they say, everybody's relative when they put a uniform on, right? So that's why we play the game. But going back to covers, I'm all Atlanta. I'm not being biased. When I do my reviews and stuff, I try not to be biased at all. And that minus 225, that's a big indicator there that the Braves are a very strong play today. Now, what does that say in case to fantasy? You can roll a Braves stat, but Braves are going to be chalk today. They're going to be chalk. I'm going to just be straight up with you. So, we'll go back here. You can drop Stride. Now, when you put Stride in your lineup, you're down to $4,244 remaining player. Alright, so again, he eats up a lot of your salary. If you take Strider out and you put in somebody like, say, Desclafani, you got 47 for almost an extra $500 to spend per player. So that's pretty huge. But we're gonna put him in there because we know that he's definitely gonna be chalk on the day, right? Alright, so right now, let's see. There aren't going to be any lineups put out there. Let's see here. But we pretty much know kind of what the lineups will be for the Braves. So I'm going to just go ahead and kind of push it. So as for the hitters, pretty much their lineup would be expected, Acuna batting first. Let me pull up one other stat line here. Definitely be Acuna, then Olsen, Riley. Looking at the picture, Lorenzen is a righty, so Darno and the catcher, Sean Murray, they're both right-handers, so we're not really gonna know who's gonna plug in there. We can definitely go and let's look at some splits. So I mean, again, I already had. As a matter of fact, let's go on here. I got it right here. So let's go to MLB starting lineups. Let's look at this. So this is RotoWire. You can go to RotoWire and get a lot of splits and stuff like that. So just so you guys can see, since we're doing this early, the expected lineups. So you got Acuna, Olsen, Riley, Murphy, Ozuna, Rosario, Albies, Arson, Harris. This has pretty much been the staple of the lineup. Every once in a while, Snicker will take Murphy out and put Darno in there. So with a right-hander, he's gonna on the mound for Detroit, Lorenzen. They're gonna have their usual left-handers in here, Michael Harris and or Rosario. Sometimes, if it's a left-hander, the Braves will put Pilar in there. So that's their expected lineup. Expected lineup for Detroit is McKinstry, Torkelson, Carpenter, Baez, Maton, Fairland, Miggy, Zach Short, and Jake Rogers. Just telling you, out of this lineup, their most talented hitters is probably McKinstry. Torkelson was a high draft pick for him. He's got a little time to develop, but he is talented. We all know about Baez. He's been kind of a letdown since he left Chicago. He still strikes out a lot. Maton, he's pretty serviceable as a left-hander. Not a lot of this whole lineup is just not a lot of power outside of McKinstry and Baez. They don't really have a lot of power in this lineup, right? And Baez, he's very undisciplined at the plate. He swings at a lot of balls all the way off the plate. He can frustrate you if you roster him. So, again, looking at this is a game where Strider could easily have a 10 to 12 strikeout day. I'm gonna just be very honest with you. Now, there's some key things you want to kind of look at, and I'm going to bring them to fruition here. So what we'll do is we'll put Spencer Strider versus left. So we just put Spencer Strider versus left, and RotoWire comes up, right? So we're going to look at some of his splits since he's coming off a rough game. Now, what you have to understand, we know the weather is going to be good. Again, I go to DK Live a lot for the weather. I'll just give you guys what they're expecting tomorrow. And they're expecting about a 2% chance of rain. So really, it's going to be pretty much clear skies. The wind is blowing straight out center field, 10 miles an hour, according to the weather report. Now here's his splits. He's a righty versus left-handers. He's faced 160 batters, 66% strike rate. He has a 3.86 ERA versus left. He's pretty much dead even ERA versus left-right. 3.7, 3.8. Better whip against right, and a lot of that due to him being able to locate his fastball very well up and in to right-handers and off the plate. It just gets up there very fast. His whip is not as good versus left, 1.29. Home runs about equal. He walks more lefties. So if there's a weak spot with Strider, if you want to roster a few Detroit batters and maybe get lucky, because he's kind of one of those pitchers like I can't remember his name, the pitcher for the Yankees. They're strong pitchers, but they give up home runs a lot too. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes they get so upset when they get caught slipping, they'll start trying to overwhelm the pitcher and try to, not the pitcher, the batter, and just kind of muster and try to robust their way through a mistake they made with the next couple of batters, and next thing you know, they give up another home run. And it's just a downward effect, because sometimes, when things aren't going their way with such a dominant pitcher like a Strider or some of the other dominant pitchers, they mentally can't get back going. And we saw that with Scherzer. That's why I said in my stream yesterday, if you're going to get to Scherzer and these kind of guys, you got to get on them early. You got to be very aggressive at the plate. Now, another key thing that you want to look at is day metrics. He started 2 games during the daytime. He went 11 innings, so that's about 5.5 innings. He's 2-0 during the day. 3.27 ERA, not the best. It could be better for his kind of caliber. 1.27 whip, not bad. 17 strikeouts in 11 innings pitched, 6 walks. That's kind of alarming. Gave up 1 home run, a triple, a double, 4 RBIs, 2 stolen bases. So what you want to get for this, he's 2-0. We can live with a 3.27. I wish that could be a little bit better looking at something like this. But they are, I believe, a grass field in Detroit. And on grass, he's 5-1. Very good whip, 1.04. 95 strikeouts, 20 walks, and 56 inning pitches. So that's a little bit under half. 6 home runs on grass, 7 doubles, 26 RBIs. So again, whip is good. You could probably ask for a little bit better with home runs here, but that's what he's going to do. I mean, he's going to try to overwhelm the batters, and if he misses, most likely his damage is going to be with home runs. So, but again, this team doesn't have a lot of power, so all this looks good. He's undefeated in 2 games during the daytime. That looks good on grass. He's 5-1. His whip is 1.04. They're very good metrics. So all of that is all check marks for Strider. All right. So what is something else we could probably look into for Detroit, right? So if we go here, let's click on the Detroit tab. Let's look at their hitters. So let's look at some of the left-hand hitters. So look at McKinstry. Most likely he's going to lead off. He's a lefty, right? So let's do, let me see. Let's do Zach McKinstry. Click on the splits. And we're just allowing it to load up here. Alright. Don't really need to see any minor league stuff here, but this is his left-right splits. So versus right-handers, 731 OPS, 5 home runs, 12 RBIs, 9 stolen bases, slugging .396. That's not bad. OBP could be better, but as you can see, versus lefties, it's way different. Like 0 home runs, no RBIs, only 11 plate attempts, but you can tell he's more better versus right? So that is definitely someone that if you want to register versus him, then I'm gonna look at one other lefty. I believe it's Mayton. I think Mayton bats left. Yes, he is. So let's go here. Let's put Nick Mayton versus Wright. Alright, we pull up Nick Mayton here. Again, he's a young guy, not batting for a big average. Again, these guys on Detroit, they're all exhibition. They're all trying to get experience to get better. In the daytime, got 87 at bats, 15 hits, 13 walks. The guy's average is not good. Not good at all. Looks like he's striking out about 1/4 of his plate attempts, 22 strikeouts during the day, and 87 at bats. Again, Strider is a right-hander, so versus, look at this. He has 6 home runs versus right. So again, this is another left-hand batter in the lineup. Again, not doing really much against lefty. You can tell with that metric right there, you can tell the manager is probably not playing him a lot versus against left-hand pitchers. He only has 9 at bats versus 164. So anytime a right-hander is on the mound, most likely the manager for Detroit is going to have him in the lineup. But when a lefty is on the mound, he ain't seen nothing, bro. So this is pretty good. 6 home runs, and 164. Like you said, slugging 320. He has barely anything versus lefty. So again, if you want to take a flyer, I'm very open to looking at both sides. I'm not going to be like, oh man, let's do all Braves. Again, this is daily fantasy. Anything can be possible, right? I mean, we just saw Scherzer get blowed up by the Yankees without Judge in the lineup. Stanton just coming off of his stint. He took him deep. Volpe had some pretty good hits there against him. pitching was bad yesterday. I mean, I didn't like Flaherty. Flaherty looked bad yesterday. Zach Wheeler did get a lot of run support, and he did something with it. Burns kind of got burned there at the end against Minnesota. Started out good. So, I mean, all it takes is 1 or 2 bad innings of pitching, and the 12,000, 10,000, 9,000 you spend, that looks good before the game starts, goes down the drain. So let's look at Atlanta real quick. I don't really need to go into Acuna. You guys know Acuna he's playing for MVP this year. If you look at the outfielders, he's 6,500. If you put Acuna in your lineup without even rostering a second pitcher, you're down to $3,900 already. So you're gonna have to start looking at some very low salary players to try to get another decent pitcher in the lineup. And we'll just try to do it, And they normally do that with the salary. Like the other outfielders for the Braves, they know you're gonna pay a lot for Acuna, and they want you to put stacks in. So these other guys, even though Rosario has some good games this year, they don't really bring his salary up that high. I mean, he's still around 29, $3,000. I mean, this guy had a grand slam not too long ago. Look at this. Back on the 4th, he had 20 fantasy points. On the 3rd against that Arizona series, he was lighting it up. Look at this, 31 on the 2nd of June. He had 15 on the 3rd of June. 20 points on June 4th. And then when they went to the Mets series, his salary only went up by $200. And other players that are well known and renowned, when they have big games like this, oh man, their salary goes up big time. So I can already tell you a lot of Sharks tomorrow are going to be on the Brave stack. Now you put him in there, you get up to 4,000. Most likely Harris is going to be in there. This is pretty much a standard format for a Brave stack or any team stack. You stack all the outfielders, and then you put the pitcher in there if he has a strong matchup. Now the only problem is that you're going to have to find a pitcher that's not going to break the bank, because you got 4,000 left, and most likely you will, because again, this algorithm that DraftKings use, they know that they need to have things in a logical world to where you can roster a guy like Stroud and still make a lineup. So I haven't gotten into the other games too much, but you can cross out Lorenzen, Milwaukee, and Minnesota. Minnesota came back in that last inning, and they stole the game away from Milwaukee. Can you believe that? So it was a 7-5 final with Minnesota and the Brewers yesterday. And I did say in the stream yesterday that Carrera was probably going to be on the uptick, and in the bottom of the ninth, he hit a 2-run home run. And they put a 4 spot up on Milwaukee, and they stole that game after Burns was a big play. So we got Ober tomorrow. Ober's he can be good, and then again he can be very mediocre. You got Jordan Montgomery. Once again, St. Louis took a beating yesterday. Again, I told everybody I wasn't impressed with Flaherty. Some people liked him on other podcasts. I didn't like him. I didn't like his matchup. Too many lefties in that lineup. San Francisco is for real. Whoever their batting coach is, they are doing a very good job in San Francisco. We got Desclafani, and again, he's another mediocre pitcher. Look at 9.3 against the Cubs, who had an offensive showing last night. And then a minus. Anytime you see a pitcher with a minus, that's a red flag. That means he can rattle, and when he starts walking people, he can't locate, he can't strike nobody out. Some pitchers like them, a pitcher like, for instance, any pitcher, but we'll use Desclafani for example. They'll get a run support in the inning before, and then they'll come out and walk the first two batters they face after they get run support. These are what people like this Clefani do, and that's why you end up with a -4 and only 9 fantasy points. You see this? 4 walks against Chicago, 3 walks against Baltimore. I mean, you pitching 3 innings against Baltimore and you giving up 3 walks. How do you expect to win? So, St. Louis might be able to redeem themselves tomorrow. Jordan Montgomery, now we changing things up. I already know Montgomery is a left-hand pitcher, so that throws a lot of things in favor for them. Because now you kind of lessening the damage, because it'll be a little bit harder for lefties to hit lefties, because a left-hander can kind of paint the outside corner on left-hand batters. So I just do not like putting right-hand pitchers against San Francisco's lefties. And I mean, yesterday in the box score, if you go back and look at it, you think I'm joking. I mean, Michael Conforto, he had 6 at bats, 4 hits, 3 RBIs, 22 fantasy points. Yastrzemski, 4 at bats, 1 hit, he hit a home run, 2 RBIs. Bailey, their catcher, 19 fantasy points. So their left-handers was getting it on, and then Jock Peterson had 9 fantasy points. Estrada's a righty, Wade is a righty, but those guys are solid contact hitters. They're very good in that 1-2 spot. We're gonna go ahead and put them in. I don't think that Montgomery and the Cardinals want to go down 0-2 to San Francisco in their home. I think they will get a hurting in the St. Louis media. They're already underachieving this year. San Francisco, they're not the best team in the league, but I mean, they're good average, if you know what that means. But they're at home, in front of their fans. They have seasoned veterans on that team. They have pitchers that have seasoned veterans on the pitching staff. This is a game that they gotta have. They gotta come out and play. So with those two, with just that right there, you got 3,400 for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players left. 3,400 per player, right? So you got some people like Rogers for Detroit, Vasquez, he'll probably be in there. Caratini. So those all kind of fit the bill. You most likely might have to put in some Minnesota players here. So, let's see. None of these players not here will do anything. So I know Gallo most likely Gallo will be in the lineup, but right here from a first base standpoint, you're gonna have to probably buy down. I don't think Solano would be in there versus a right-hander. So you could probably go with Flores. And so you say, okay, well, JB, why are you taking Flores against Montgomery? There's nothing wrong with that. If somebody's gonna win, sometimes you can take a batter against one of your pitchers. Especially, Flores normally bats between the 4th and 6th position in their lineup. And you gotta weigh the options. I mean, you can go Flores, which I do like, because he's a right-hander versus lefty. You look at Kirilloff, who's a lefty. He played yesterday. Didn't do too much. You could roster him at 3,100, right? He's a lefty, so I'm pretty sure he'll be in there versus Rhea. And you got 3,400. I'm just gonna fly in some people, because I'm telling you, I already know Atlanta's gonna be the chalk, right? So, probably put Vasquez in there. I don't like to pay up a lot And look at that. You got $3,900 to fill in your second base, third, and shortstop. Just that alone. So it's possible. Every once in a while I construct some lineups. You know what I'm saying? So it is possible to get Strider and Montgomery in your lineup and still have adequate money to build a good lineup. I mean, you can get Donovan in there. I think Donovan is lefty. Let me check again. I'm sorry. Yeah. So most likely Donovan will be in the lineup versus a right-hander tomorrow. You can put Maton in there. We just did the homework on Maton. Miller may come back with a good game. He's $4,000. He's right there at 3,900. If you want to go up and get a little bit of power, you could possibly do that. And if you put Albies in there, you want to continue to stack, you got 3,500. And then with third base, you can still put Urias in there. You still got Maton, right? You got Castro at 2,300. Sometimes he comes up with big games. It's possible. It's possible. So we will say, let's try to build something. I'm pretty sure Farmer's going to be in there tomorrow. I think Farmer had a decent game yesterday. And yeah, he had a home run for them. He's a righty. They don't really mess with Farmer too much in the lineup. And now you got $4,300 for one other spot. Now look at that. You can actually put Carrera back in there. Coming off, he's hot. You know how this guy used to be when he was with Houston. He's on a tear right now, just like Gunnar Henderson was. And you got to kind of milk the cow when it's ready to be milked. So right there, you can either put Carrera in there. You can continue your Minnesota. Or if you want to take Carrera out, you leave some money in the bank. You can put you can either put Grissom in there, or you can put Arcia in there. One of the two. I mean, you can put Grissom, of course. Carrera is a little bit more of a veteran. I'm sorry, not Von Grissom. I'm sorry, not Grissom. I was thinking Harris. So you can either put Arcia or Carrera. So, and you got 200 left. So this is pretty much a Minnesota Atlanta stack, leaving $200 in the bank. That looks good. I mean, you get all the you get Acuna, you get all the outfielders. You get him leading off. He can steal a base. He can bring the first run in if Olsen brings him in. Normally you would want probably Acuna and Olsen, but again, if you put Olsen in there, he's $6,000. You're negative 2,700. So now you gotta probably buy down on Strider. Or buy down on Montgomery. You don't want to do that. So you just take what you can get right there. Alright, so we're going to leave that up as we continue to finish up. I just, with only 3 games, I kind of wanted to do a little lineup construction on this one. Again, I don't really have too much confidence in Detroit. I don't really like their pitcher, Lorenzen. Let's pull him up. We're going to be fair. If you look at his game log against Arizona, again, Arizona's a very good team. You don't want to kind of meet them on a day when they're seeing the ball well. 6 innings, 7 hits, 6 earned runs. It wasn't his day. White Sox is not a very good team. We saw that last night. The White Sox played the Dodgers, and they barely got that 1 run they got. The Dodgers took care of them 5-1. So he did this thing against the White Sox, 6 strikeouts at Chicago, and in the game home, he had some run support, 4 strikeouts. Anytime you get someone he was 6,800, in that first game at home and gave you 21 points. That's a good return on your investment. Pittsburgh, who's leading their division, He got 27 against them, 6 strong innings. So I mean, he's doing his thing against teams that really don't have an identity, or teams that are kind of young. But against league leaders like Arizona, he ran into trouble, and Atlanta's leading their division, and I don't really see him really performing um, against the Braves lineup. I don't care what his stuff looks like. I'm not gonna put my money on Detroit on anything. They might get a lucky home run. Maybe when Strada goes out, like I said, maybe McKinstry or Maton goes deep. Maybe when Strada comes off the mound, but don't put a lot of stock into Detroit. All right, so moving on to Milwaukee. Now this guy surprised me in his last start. I think I had Baltimore in that game. Baltimore had a great game again yesterday. Their left-hand bats woke up. Um, Colin Ray, he surprised me in that game back on the 8th against Baltimore. He was stingy. 8 strikeouts. He only gave up 3 hits in 5 innings. Didn't give up no home runs. Only walked 1 batter. 84 pitches. He did his job. He's going against Minnesota. Again, if you look at expected lineups, they got a lot of lefties up there. They're probably trying to stack some left-hand batters against Real. You got Julian at the top, Kirilloff, Carrera, Gallo, Larnach. Larnach is pretty good. That's why he's batting 5th. Kepler, very good, disciplined left-hand batter with power. He can pull the ball for his righty. It's a pretty stable lineup, It's going to be a very interesting game to see how, if that was a fool's gold game that he had versus Baltimore. If we look at the consensus, let's move to that game. So they got Minnesota as favorites, -165, an 8.5 over under. Now, that's 8.5 over under in the Braves game. I'll tell you, the Braves probably got 7 of those runs. In this game, not so quiet. Bailey over, I'll get to him a little bit, but looking at some of the underlying stuff, Minnesota, their record is 34-33. If they lose this game, both teams are 34-33. They both fall to 500. So that is definitely something that I'm pretty sure the managers are pushing in the clubhouse. I don't think either team wants to get to that 500 mark. And both these teams have high expectations, in their divisions. In the last 10, they're both 4-6. So I think this game right here will be kind of like the Subway Series we saw yesterday. Both teams have a lot to fight for. Minnesota's been backing it up pretty good at home, 19-14. I think they take a lot of pride playing in front of their fans, so I don't think they want to drop 2 games in a row at home. Kind of like St. Louis, St. Louis has been terrible. But this is a great game, very good game. In the stream yesterday, I told everybody I like Yelich. I think he's seeing the ball very good right now. So let's go over to some more splits. Let's look at over splits here. So always in daytime, one of the things I really like to figure out is these players day and night metrics. I want to know if pitchers can pitch during the daytime. So right now in the day, he's started 5 games. He's 1-2, 3.25 ERA, 1.05 WHIP. He's getting on 3 home runs during the day, a triple, 6 doubles, 10 RBIs. Pretty standard. Nothing. It's pretty okay. I don't like walks. 8 walks and 27 innings pitched. That could be a little better. He's kind of hold on, guys. He's kind of lulling you to sleep with that. All right. On the grass, .97 whip on grass, 40 strikeouts and 40 innings pitches, 11 walks. This guy had a lot of issues walking people. 3 home runs, 11 doubles, 12 RBIs. Okay, so Bailey over again. Overall, you look at his overall ERA, 2.61 is good. It's under 3. .97 whip is good. But again, he's going against a Milwaukee team that's pretty disciplined. So let's pull him up here. Let's get him in here. I rostered this guy early in the season, and I don't know, he kind of let me down, guys. I'm kind of skeptical about putting the rod of faith in him. He gave up 3 earned runs and 5 innings. Again, Tampa Bay, they're a tough team. Again, Cleveland is a very disciplined team. He got 6 innings pitched, 4 hits. Didn't give up the long ball. That's the thing I do like about him. The home run ball, he doesn't really give it up too much. His splits on DK on their app, I haven't gone anywhere. 1 and 2 at home. 33 innings pitched, 25 hits, 11 earned runs in 33 innings. A lot of walks. The whip is a lot higher. ERA is a lot higher. And he's pitched more games at home than away. The park is not serving him any justice at home, guys. All these things are red flags. They're all red flags, man. Let's look at the splits on Real. And let's see how he does on away games. So, again, he has a higher ERA, 4.47. He's kind of finding himself. So, he started 4 games on the road. 4.5 ERA, that's not very good. Whip is not bad. 7 walks and 21 innings pitched. Again, walks are something that I do not like. It's kind of it's not a good indicator for me. I don't like pitchers that put batters on base freely. All right. It's like 7 walks and 21 innings pitched. He's not getting a lot of strikeouts either. All right, so it's kind of mediocre. Just like he's kind of like 500. He's like mediocre, right? You don't really know what he's gonna do. So what you look at, he's right-handed, and you say who can give him trouble. So the manager's already loading up Kepler, Gallo. You got Carrera right there in the middle of the left hand batters. So this is not, to me, Carrera looked good on his last thing, but with Minnesota needing a comeback win, I don't really recommend. I mean, you can play him, but he won't be in my lineup. I don't like the lineup configuration that Minnesota has. In his case. On the other end, Ober, he got to deal with Yelich, Tellez. He got a little bit more righties in the lineup, so I would say probably Ober has a better. If I had to take one of the two, I would definitely roster Ober. He just has to be able to control his pitches. You know, when the game, you can kind of tell what kind of day Ober is going to have when in that first inning. If he's off the plate and he can't locate his cutter, and if he can't get that pitch to paint on the outside corner, it's going to be a long day for him. Very long day. All right, so Weimer might be looking to bounce back. He didn't do much yesterday. It's going to be interesting to see where they put him in the lineup. He may not be in the ninth position tomorrow. They might lead him off and put Yelich at 2 and Adames at 3 and Tellez in the cleanup pitch position. So this is probably out of the 3 games. This is probably the game right here that it's probably going to be the most interesting. Both pitchers can be great, but they're kind of pitching mediocre. Same thing with the San Francisco game. We're about to get into that, but I mean, both pitchers are pretty average to me. I'm gonna say take Minnesota. If you go back and you look at what the consensus is, um, Vegas, they like Minnesota a lot more, -165. So I'm gonna stick with Minnesota. I'm gonna see they come back and win the second game. I like the Braves. I think over's gonna do just enough to give Minnesota the opportunity to take this game by the horns and run with it. I think Red's gonna make some mistakes to some of the batters in Minnesota. Not to say Milwaukee may not get theirs, but I pretty much would put my money on Minnesota. Again, his salary is $9,700, so he's averaging 18.0 fantasy points per game. So yeah, take Minnesota, get some of the left-hand batters. If you want to maybe run contrarian and go with Milwaukee, again, get some of their left-hand batters. So let's look up my guy. Let's look up let's look up Yelich splits here. I mean, these are guys you need to know, because these guys are guys who can make a difference in any small slate like this with only 3 games. You got to kind of know what you're heading into, right? Tomorrow, let's look at this. He's 5,100. He had a great game again yesterday, and a good game before that. He hit 2 home runs in his last 2 games, 5 hits in his last 9 at bats. So he's seen the ball very good. All right. So during the daytime, Yelich has had 106 at bats, 29 hits. He's batting .274, .425 slugging. Pretty good numbers. .799 OPS. Yeah, I mean, 4 home runs. Yeah, I mean, you can't really ask for more than that. On grass, 9 home runs. I mean, he's looking good. On grass, .818 OPS. Yelich is looking good again tomorrow, man. He's out right-hand pitching, seven of his 9 home runs against right-hand pitching. .845 OPS, .462 slugging. He steals bases. If you get on, if he's leading off tomorrow, he gets on base. You can, I mean, based on the analytics, they're gonna probably send him 11 stolen bases versus right-hand pitching. So Yelich is looking like another great play tomorrow. Alright, and if that's the case, then you want to kind of maybe wheel in some players behind them. So like if you're looking at those expected lineups, if you're going to play Yelich, you better have Adames, Tellez, whoever on roster that first 4 of their lineups and roll with it, Milwaukee, both these teams, like I say, got a lot to play for. Milwaukee could easily win their division. Minnesota can win their division. If you look at the standings, Minnesota, they're at the top of their division, 34-33. Milwaukee, they're trailing Pittsburgh by 1 game. All right, Milwaukee has lost 5 in a row. They gotta win, man. They gotta win. I mean, they let that game get away from them yesterday. So, Minnesota, they was on the, they're 4-6 in their last 10. So that's gonna be a very competitive game. I don't want to keep dragging y'all ears. So hopefully that's enough sample data on that. Let's finish up on the last game. And you got San Francisco and St. Louis. So once again, I told you earlier, I like Montgomery being a left-hander going against San Francisco's left-handers. Let's look up Joe Montgomery splits. It's going to be very interesting to see. Again, when you're dealing with a team like St. Louis, who's been overachieving, and you look at the starting pitcher's his record, you know why he's 3-7, because the team ain't been playing good. St. Louis, again, we looked at this yesterday. They're losers of their last 4, 2-8 in their last 10 games. Again, when they talk about poking the bear, I don't even know if they're a teddy bear. I don't know what St. Louis is, but I mean, that's not good. I mean, at all. Now, if you look, let's look at this. So, Jordan Montgomery versus lefties. He's faced only 45 batters in that sample size. He's had 8 strikeouts. No one has hit a home run against him. Lefties. That's huge, because we saw how they dominated. The left-hand batters dominated yesterday versus right-hand pitching. So that's a big one-up for them, right? He has control of the strike zone and limit the damage. Right-handers, not good. 8 home runs, 19 walks, a lot of more face, 266 batters. So you can see what his strengths are. Let's go to his day metrics. He's 1-1, 3.45 ERA. That's kind of mediocre. 1 home run, 11 strikeouts, and 15 innings pitched. Not bad. 8 RBIs and 15 innings pitched. So 1.28 WHIP, not bad. On grass, it's 3-7. Again, they haven't been playing good at home at all. So I don't expect any of these metrics to look good when they're playing in Busch Stadium at all. But at home, he has a 4.68 ERA. Not good. 4 home runs, 14 doubles and 32. I mean, just terrible. So in the metric of this, you can see there's some alarming indicators with him pitching at home. Not too bad during the daytime, but the thing that stands out in his favor is the left hand. He takes some of the strength out of that lineup going against lefties, right? And I can rock with that. All right. Let's look at the other picture before we get into the bats. This guy, Desclafani, oh my gosh. This guy right here, when I say shake my head, boy, I don't know what to say, man. This guy right here, I don't know if he got an underlying agenda when he get on the mound, but you just got to throw the holy water on this guy here. I don't trust this guy. He may come out and have a good game. Let's look on DK's app. Away games, it's 2-2 record, 30 innings pitched. Impressive whip, 0.85, 0.204 batting average. His FPPG is better away than at home. He does have a game against St. Louis. In that game, 1.17 whip, 3 ERA, respectable 21 fantasy points. He had 6 strikeouts. The 2 runs he gave up were 2 long home runs. He will give up the long ball. But in his last 2 games, he hasn't given up any home runs. But again, the guy right here, he's not a strikeout pitcher. He doesn't have an out pitch. That's very important. When I say a pitcher doesn't have an out pitch, that's very important, because that Babs will have these 9-10 pitch counts, fouling his ball off. He can't get him out. Look at this. 6 innings pitched against the Cubs. Before that, 3 innings against Baltimore. 5 innings against Minnesota. He had a 7-pitch inning against Pittsburgh, but what saved him, he got run support in that game, but he still gave up 8 hits. He only had 2 Ks. It's not a lot of value in him. This is a game that St. Louis is going to definitely look to be bounced back. I mean, let's look at what they got to say here. Again, the consensus for Giants, 57%, is going to be because St. Louis is just underachieving. But see, again, the natural eye would say take the Giants because they just got slandered yesterday. They don't look good as a ball team at all. But Vegas not drinking the Kool-Aid. Vegas see what we just looked at. They see Montgomery can stabilize left-hand bats. This is a game they need to jump out and try to salvage the series. I don't think they want to go down 0-2 to the Giants and possibly get swept. They're minus 145, so the casino guys, they seen, this game in St. Louis. It's a high over-under. 8.5 over-under. All right, because both pitchers will walk batters. And again, you can see he doesn't have the best record pitching at home. So there's some things that are going to give on both sides. This game could be kind of like, even though I have him in the lineup just for roster construction, but this game could get out of hand, either in the middle, like between the third and fifth inning, or at the beginning. It just depends if Jordan Montgomery can roster up some strikeouts. He has 66 strikeouts on the season. Sclafani has 53. Right? So let's look at Jordan Montgomery one more time on DK. And let's see how he's doing in the K. He's going to need some strikeouts. So he had 6 here against Cincinnati, 5 against Pittsburgh, and only 3 against Cleveland. So it's going to be a tough task for him. They're going to need him. They're going to need to rely on him to help keep the damage at a minimum tomorrow. He doesn't go deep in the games a lot. I mean, again, Montgomery, they tried him out in New York. It didn't really work out there. When you see a guy getting shipped around the league like that, it's not a good sign. You know what I'm saying? He did his business against Cincinnati. As we know, they can be very undisciplined. And, he's going to have his flashes, of greatness. But I will roll him out there. I'll take him. I'm going to test his gangster tomorrow. I don't like this Sclafani at all. Again, this Sclafani is a right-hander. So if we look at the let's look at the lineup. So they got projected Donovan at the top, Goldie, Arenado, Gorman, Contreras, Carlson, Edmund. Let's look at Gorman. Gorman stands out to me. So let's look at that. How about that? Alright, so let's look at Norman Gorman. That's loading up. Let's go to DK real quick. And let's go hit DH on here. But let's go here to St. Louis. So he's I'm sorry. We'll put Arenado to see what he did yesterday. Arenado didn't do much. I mean, he had 2 hits. He had a double. He didn't bring anybody in. Didn't hit a home run. Arenado definitely is going to be needed to step up. Gorman yesterday, nothing. I mean, St. Louis, I don't know, they got an issue in that locker room, but they got to get their shit together for real. Let's look at Gorman splits. So right now, day game, let's look at what he's doing. He had 74 at bats in the day, 17 hits. He got 6 home runs and 74 at bats. So 200 RBIs, man, 230, could be better there. Slugging .541, not bad. He slugs pretty good at home also, .610 at home, .984 OPS. These are good numbers. Very good numbers. I like what I see there. On grass, .257, .530. So, I mean, Gorman got 15 home runs on the year. That's pretty impressive. So against righties, look at this, 13 home runs. He's tough out. OPS is great. Average is much better versus right. Again, most of his at bats or against right-handed, and he has solid numbers. 41 RBIs. He's bringing runners in. So I got him as a lock tomorrow. You can definitely roster Gorman. He's definitely looking good. You're gonna pay for him $4,500. Alright, we could either take Gorman out here and plug him in, but this is just an Atlanta, Minnesota stack. If you're doing multiple lineups, I'll definitely say stack Gorman in there. If you're going to construct a lineup, definitely have that whole top of the order, 1 through 4. You can probably do a 9, 1, 2, 3, 4. Tommy Edman is a switch hitter. He does very good from the left-hand side. I do a 9, 1, 2, 3, 4 lineup with St. Louis. Yes, sir. So I will. All right. San Francisco. Again, we'll look up Estrada and we'll look up J.D. Davis. We'll look at those two. We're going to see if any of these right-handers can carry San Francisco tomorrow. Possibly. Estrada being, he's sitting on that majestic 9 home runs, trying to get to 10. I like this guy. This guy's really improved over the last couple of years. He's getting very good. He's batting .294, 9 home runs. He's going against a left-hander tomorrow. Again, ironically, not that great against lefties. Only 1 home run and 63 at bats. Average is not bad. His OPS and slugging's about the same, but most of his power has come against right-handers. So you can take that for a grain of salt for what it is. Let's look at his daytime. Out of his 9 home runs, guys, 7 of his home runs have been during the daytime. So this guy sees the ball at the plate very well during the daytime. 1.062 OPS. 370 batting average. This guy's killing it during the daytime. So there's 2 locks for you. Estrada and Gorman is looking very good. Very good. Alright, let's look up J.D. Davis. J.D. Davis, former Met. Third baseman for the Giants, 286. He's another one sitting on 9 home runs. Decent average, 286 versus lefties. Not bad. Got about 100 more bats versus righty than his left-hand appearances. 2 home runs, 4 doubles, 6 base hits. So 8 RBIs, 6 walks. Ironically, dead even, 286 average. He's kind of dead on. It doesn't really matter. Just most of his power actually has come against versus righty than left. So again, these are all things that are lining up better for Montgomery. He has great metrics against left-hand batters, and the 2 guys that could possibly do damage versus him, they do more damage versus righties than lefties, ironically. However, I do like Estrada's metrics during the daytime. This guy again here, 93 at bats. He got 30 hits. I mean, five of his 9 home runs has come during the daytime. 323 average, .965 OPS. The Giants love to play at daytime. On grass, very good. .84 OPS, 274 average. And he got 8 home runs on grass. So even though they don't look like they do very well versus left-hand pitchers, these guys can see the ball during the daytime. So this definitely warrants some ownership for the right-handers um, in that lineup. You know, if you're gonna take anybody out of the San Francisco lineup, Estrada and JD, definitely. Don't really too much care for Crawford, Matos. You know, I can go ahead and push the agenda. Let's look up Wilmer Flores. We ain't gonna leave him out. He sits right there in the middle of that lineup. Let's see if it's a right-hander that got some good metrics during lefty. Because if that's the case, you can run the top of the lineup for San Francisco tomorrow and roll it out. Again, right now, when you look at a team like St. Louis, they're not holding themselves accountable to play consistent baseball. So you can't be sitting there just thinking, oh man, they did bad yesterday, they do for a good game. No. These other teams see their weaknesses. They pick them apart. Whether it's mentally, they know how to get in their head, or they're just dominating them with analytics and know what they can't do in certain times. So Flores versus lefties, it's not bad. It's kind of dead on. Same amount of bats. You can see they're kind of rotating them out of the lineup based on pitching, who's on the mound for the opposing team. But out of his 6 home runs, 4 of them has come versus lefty. Same amount of RBIs. Average is better, 274. Slugging is better. So, yeah, he looks good. He looks good versus lefties. I've seen him be able to pull the ball to left field versus lefties. He can get the bat around, trust me. His average during the day, 222. Slugging .43. Pretty average numbers, but does warrant a shot at rostering. And especially when you look at the other players around him. Okay, when you got Estrada and JD Davis right there, that does roster a look. Right? You can't leave Mr. Slater out. Definitely gotta look at him. This guy's batting 400 now. He's not an everyday player. He's a platoon, and his role is to go against southpaw, as you see right here in his fantasy outlook. So again, you got 2 players we just looked at that they do very good during daytime with J.D. Davis and Estrada. You got Flores, who more of his power comes against lefties, and the analytics department of San Francisco, their platoon and Slater against lefties. That's supposedly his strength, right? 1.097 OPS versus lefty. Very impressive. And the small sample size and 12 hits. I mean, very good. Daytime, 318 average, 22 at bats. Got a homer there. He's bringing runs in. He's doing a little bit of everything. Great average, man. I mean, he's on the road. He's batting 471 on the road. .941 OPS. So this is a guy in a platoon situation. He's playing to his strengths when he gets an opportunity, right? Let's look at nobody on and nobody out. He's batting 500. So when he's leading off tomorrow with nobody on, nobody out, he's batting 500. There's a 50-50 chance he's going to get on base. OPS 1.083. Let's see, if he got some people in runners in scoring position, 1.457 OPS. So looking at all this and knowing that St. Louis is not playing at a high level right now, you gotta if you're playing multiple lineups, and most likely, if you're playing in a $4 contest, I would definitely, if it's not single entry, if it's a multi-entry, I would roster a San Francisco stack, a St. Louis stack, an Atlanta stack, and a Minnesota stack. Definitely. I would definitely have those 4 teams. If you got the money to roll them all, do it. I mean, even putting Detroit in there, you never know. anything is possible. Ain't nobody gonna ain't nobody gonna really roster him. I don't really recommend it, but with such only 3 games, if you want to cover the whole slate, by God, do it. I mean, it's wide open. It's wide open tomorrow, guys. I ain't gonna lie to you. I mean, I want to root for St. Louis to make a comeback, but they're 27-41. They haven't shown that they can dig themselves out of a hole this year. And what we just covered with San Francisco, that's pretty impressive. I mean, they got a lot of stuff working for them tomorrow. All right, and Milwaukee got to try. They had one of their best pitchers on the mound yesterday. They blew the game. So Minnesota's coming into that game with the momentum, guys. So we're gonna wrap it up there. I hope you guys like the rundown, the analysis. I try to keep it on the hour, but just want to give y'all a little bit more flavor. All right, so good luck to y'all tomorrow, and thanks for tuning in. Have a good one.